Kokona Yankomana Kwaba. Ivan Bachoti Yanka. Nice one. Now, pum to say. If you boko. Oka say a needless na chechim kakre say organized labor strike no mo calling it off na needless na say womo take action ama aban abomoden na prekope watwe break say on ton hotels a ye senate for contribution ye de abomoden esie.
They are the heartbeat of the Ghanaian worker. So it doesn't matter how Ubehu said the structure on the system necessity. Say you can't net investment in Kwandia, say Ghanaian worker that crowd, sorry. Because on himself a Senate investment in Ankoya, I am a Dutch in Nkoye. So they needed to do that. So yeah, but through webinar Tanasi who said Senate hotels perform. I think that we need to vary the options. Now you say going forward, you know, because these hotels are not doing well, no, we have to put them out for sale and we lay out the proper procedure. But I heard the as to whether say indeed these hotels now are making profit and I said they are not making profit, you know, depending on which side of the conversation would you, because there are people who make arguments that they are not performing. And the other side, Okujato is sharing documents are clearly a say these hotels are making profit. So I know the day. So we are ordinary Ghanaian. The question is, find a kind of clear. So when there is no clarity on the argument upon which this wholesale is premised on, definitely you will not have people agreeing. And again, if you look at the processes involved in this whole transaction, Dr. Ren, initially, now you're privy to certain detailed information concerning this whole transaction. Now my catch us as Senate hotel. Senate say many financial problems and hotel now not doing well. And me pay capital inflows. The key word here is capital infusion. Me so So if you need capital infusion into the operations of this particular business to make it viable, now so what 60% stake. 60% stake now turn, you are no longer an owner of that company. BM pay capital infusion, but rather no, by a minority investor in somebody's 60% business. Will only go to favor somebody. So that is the first point. Some mistake. Yeah. Again, so we have processes involved. All the name Senate for cover transaction advisors at your mobile. Catch you almost say, a boy, a pass your tongue, your friend is saying your hotels, and transaction advisors, a moon to your phone. And we paid a staggering $400 and over $1,000. Company na ya demand I sent we no mo yeah that particular way no je mensa kuru the company and I times I dey we demand no and so we share recommendation or try abra wa kire na dwen about transaction na Dr Ren may assure say you don't need to go to school to raise those your friend say recommendations or on the face of the arguments you know make here no you can just make those your friend say recommendations so I say I do not know and now can I edit you of monocrana because the bearing is not there. But anyway, this is Ghana. Obia Alpha Quine or Benyanisika. Then these transaction advisors are what you are mocha $400,000 and over catch was a debit. A year processing out what they ma branch champion and yaquine papa because the company no cry show any bank guarantee and I say any assurance be said. To the idea. Because I don't know your value no between a range of 80 to $121 million. That is the internal memoir, internal valuation as net and putting a price on these 4 hotels. So you can say you price in between 80 to $121 million. Then you could sorry I see the amount will be $61 million. The question is now then I must say lowest crying ton cry 80. Na ebe kosoro pa yebenya 121 no eba say na ye turn 61 again also capital infusion no per the arrangement I want branch champion company ne ye no say we dey won pehwe amount $30 million na de aka no on for 2 years into our spread it means capital na also pay for infusion no nipa na wo ton amana no kra ni capital no because otua half na aka no obeji hotel na say or the year adwuma your friend pay as you go. Onyam faswa. Now what you be amount? Fibia, I think they were going to pay around $7 million. In tips, I say Obedi hotel, Nasa went to be managing ye, Nasa, when your profit, what happens to your 30 million? When he hasn't shown any bank guarantee, Sabi, oh, she can do a banker to the idea. Waiting a cock of Canaba. And this anima way, you know, Cosso, Senate board members, I am privy to. The DG or whatever, the managing director is privy to this. The president is aware. Cabinet is aware. Not sa nearma way na koso amoya aware na still mokase yan toma branya champion. Then it comes to confirm the assertions out there that this whole thing is in furtherance of a certain a renewed attempt to capture this particular state. Because as I said, we are within timelines and no challenge young turn in them young cop. And I think and then this whole transaction an act in bad faith. And unfortunately, Mahu the board chair, Madam Elizabeth Ohene on various social media platforms and other newspaper columns or throw article defending this what I call the shit show, defending this particular thing. But now are you privy to these details? What's our documents? Transaction advisors and whole lot of processes in as a form. At least, what then I any motivation? Sabi or the quiet way. And then I was one of the radio stations. Let me make the argument. Say, I know I did find a conflict of interest in other jurisdictions. They may bear criminal liabilities, but in our part of the world, Ghana has it doesn't bear criminal liabilities. But you see, unless you extend it further to the realm of your friends, corruption, fraud, and those kind of related, and a bit in your community, I have criminal liabilities, fine. But a moral, ethical principle, or my culture said the whole governance, travel on trust. And to ensure that people will trust government, that ethical, moral principles must always be adhered to. Then you have Brian Acheampong, who is a cabinet minister. He sits in cabinet. And this decision, the bus stop with cabinet, our president can't home, but we'll do in Casa Hotel, Abra country president. So cabinet will sit. And cabinet will request for every single relevant document related to this particular transaction, and it will be made available to cabinet. So Brian Acheampong, as an individual, because of his privileged position, will have access to these documents that other bidders, will not have. So at the end of the day, if you open tender and you allow that same person on when you're privileged information, when you access to this privileged document because of his privileged position, Dr. Ren, come on. You don't need to go to school to know that this is absolute nonsense. You don't need to go to school to appreciate, say, this whole thing is absolute nonsense. You understand? So there are a lot of easy minds, let me say easy minds, who make arguments, because Brian Acheampong will make it sika, man for vino, and I say, come on, baby, we are talking about governance at the highest level, leadership. Obi envy, obi envy, it doesn't come in here. Let's look at the issues. Issues now more making, are they relevant? And the fact is that they are relevant. Because the transaction advisor now kasa note now what about the transaction, actually say the deal stinks. Deal no a bomb. And unfortunately, I never can sign was in it and say, when him say labor union no more your friend say reps our board no so. I think the number up to is it 7 or 14 thereabout. More reps. I'm taking this decision here, these reps on board, I join it. Your friends are workers union, TUC say, yeah, your board knows over Charlie. Decision, you can't, or more come from my man, we are not aware. So I know the day, how do you think you can, I don't know, defend such a crashing enterprise, an enterprise to sell, it becomes a crashing enterprise in the face of Ghanaians. How do you then mount this energy to defend this crashing enterprise? It's not possible. So I think Senate business in the economy are demonstrating bad faith. And there are those who make arguments, say, in the past, I'm for Tonton or my Japan, I say, Doctor, yes, sir, we cannot move forward. And I always make arguments. Obi auto Ghana Japadie Kufo pencil, Rollins pencil, Mahama pencil, and I say fine pencil. So one fat crime papa sooner there are traces or element of corruption be woman. Crime any expiry date. We can still make the documents available. And or more maybe a man tom running as a form no. Those things a glide come on because that time no, how do you even get access to information? Some of these things could have been done in the Abra won't tell home. Ya kaya kwa so moton Vodafone. Actually, answer na PC appeal for the Bible and think I say, ya chomo dollars answer no. Some information no kunya no he. But today, my culture said because of the new media, with the advances in technology and stuff, and the average and the Ghanaian youth, are well enlightened, exposed, or access to information. And the ACA in the past, one can one sem no, ebia no one say, amano mu nim but it's so easy to do comparative analysis, to flip to other jurisdiction and see how good governance, then the actors and then the modules and say they sit here, and then you do that comparison here. So and then you should make sure say it makes sense and a jelly with your friends saying international and global standard, and yes, you will not have it easy. And I think that is what is happening at Senate. And into all the justifications being bandied around in the name of justifying this whole thing, and making sense, because Senate, our hotel, or the Jumefosikana Ashim, and there are other investment portfolios of Senate that are not performing, all because of this same recklessness. So, and now I was on the platform and I was telling people, say, we need to review all investment portfolios are Senate to ensure their economic viability. Because the more than a D, the more than a D, fast bought this hotel, don't come here, Dr. Ren, it shows us something far worse is going on somewhere, because I know they have a stake in your friends a lot of real estate. In the past. STC, I'm told Senate has a larger stake in it and several other buildings or more. We need to look and see how those businesses are thriving, because say ankoya e kogu Ghana worker netiri so. And also I also make argument to say, Dr. Ren, can we get to a point and say state enterprises and performing a should that be the case? Because there are people who argue say it could be private mind sama or more it is about work ethics. Work ethics. Yeah, relax. We need UK. I love about the Western world. They say, Dr. Ren, what class fee? What crowd you say about you are you working for certain hours? You know, whoever is employing you will make sure say you will not sit aloof for that hours not be to your canoe. He will make sure that every hour will count, every minute will count, every second will count. And the work ethics on our part of the world, you know, and it's a man for abanya juma supervision and abanya juma. So that attitude, you know, we need to work and change it because elsewhere, most of the universities perform well and making money. Most of them are public universities. Most of these universities are public universities, but they are doing well. But if you come to our part of the world, it's a different ball game altogether. It's because of the mentality. So we can do it well because the ingenuity now, private sector, no, at the year, the same ingenuity government will be, but a regulatory failure on our part because I bind there, you will be there. There is nobody to own it. If you go to America, if you go to some of their small counties, you will now share from sheriff now. Wouldn't say Muno Catcher said, this is my town. You know what that means? The person is appropriating the town. He's taking ownership of the town. And this is a Diana, all my wouldn't say Blue. So that word is very common. Welcome. This county is my town. We're owning them. I fancy Japadena, Dr. Ren, they were Japadia. You see how over home buying. Yahano. Sadia no ni ho enti na me obakroma sesia na me say ofru UK aba Ghana ha na me say me so won sa do anam state owned enterprises so wa hwe a wi a obeka say yen sa leaders of okrom ha nyina live from titibesi na ne mo nyina because you see these state owned enterprises no e ka mo bogu Ghana tirisu no enya de ketwa these state owned enterprises e ka mo bono but they are the very people who are paid well in this country. From ECG to Cocoa Board to Bank to Bank of Ghana to Ghana Commercial Bank to Investment Bank, all these organizations, you know, none of them end up making profit. Recently, you know, I think that they are making news. Bank of Ghana only with me book 15 billion, 60 billion in a year. Now our board member be 500 billion, not the coffee. No excuse me, I talk good watch. I send their PP also. Over abanya duan baby na board members it me koto iPhone ni a chama over at an inflated price. Now okwa US cabinet kura na omoto omutimi to iPhone chama your friends senators and as for them. But this is Ghana for you exclusively, no, they will go to the boardroom. So as a result of these malfeasances and practices, you know, state-owned enterprises are not performing. But we cannot always get to a point that we should offload them. No, I think we need to change here, infuse expertise, certain efficiency, and certain discipline, especially work ethics, into the operations of government. The private sector, we can equally do the same thing. But and I say STC, and I say, your friends say, tall and young, yes, we near Duma. Now, no, no, kaba hotels and chroma, your friends saying factories, and then as far and chroma at the bar, say, and that's our factories in so, if we cannot even handle some of these things, so you see, it's a failure on our part, and sometimes the politics people will do politics with it, but we see across the political divide. I think over the years, you know, you're failure. The only difference is that these people have heightened the whole thing. They've taken it to a different level. But you see, over the years, you know, I think that the framework of governance now established for your home, has been nothing but a disaster. And when you set a disaster in motion, subsequent decisions in the development will continue to be a disaster. And I think what is playing out, you know, is the same trend of disaster that is playing out because we saw the bad seed. Unfortunately, the are you aware, sir? Senator for who says your my the body. people are still out there defending. They are justified, and there are people on the outside.
Enonanka me pese me busa o say there's been some calls by some Ghanaians to say ebeyanka eye a snit eye womo chair eye board chair eye Social Security and National Insurance Trust ISNT and ka board chair for ni nyina no including eye Elizabeth Ohene a ono ye board chair no ko mu nyina no yen dissolve board no na afen so no if there is any act of malfeasance bia yembo modiana nka eja special prosecutor hwehwem na nka eja yemfa bebia no kre no eda no na asotwe bi wo a ye de amom. Do you agree with the people of Moka say yembo modiana yen dissolve this particular Senate board?
Oh yes, I totally agree with them. You see, and even earlier this morning, I was on a platform, and that is the conclusion that I made. You see, enterprises like this are public, vested stake in them. No, Dr. Ren, they thrive on trust. And you see, say, board, every many maybe a bit silent, and then come more administrative work, without engaging in a fierce public banter in an attempt to defend a bidder. This whole thing wouldn't include them. But in this particular case, you have the board chair taking to social media, desperately attempting to justify and sustain this crashing enterprise by raising a whole lot of the personal views. These views now all present, they didn't even present and represented the entire view, the entirety of the board. And I think they've already taken position. So our position now we're taking, I crash it. It means that decisions now we take here didn't go well. And the Ghanaian cannot trust you. So going forward, you will make reasonable, sensible decisions. The investment. Okay, fine. And I think, you see, some of these things are not personal. Dr. Ren, the fact is these companies are not performing, and you have admitted that we should offload them. While relinquishing with duty to ensure their viability. I don't know if you get a point.
Yeah.
Yes. Once you say they are not performing, and you are not looking at other ways you can infuse efficiency and other way of maybe getting certain strategic investments via other operations, you have relinquished any desire within you to ensure viable. So on that particular point, you have no business staying afloat.
And it also even shows that you as a board, Nagas, you are not competent to even stay there and then see. Yes. Say, okay, say as we as the board Nagasano, I see a timidi juma to from car elsewhere no one can say nyansa ebeye juma application be applied. So okay, to me juma ya resign, corner nipa foforo aba because yangasi di dance say hotels na cry hweso no mpo entimi hweso entini si entimi hweso dia den ye da so etena ho
and there are those who say board is not responsible for day to day. That is absolute nonsense.
That's so much aketua.
No, even they take allowances.
That's why they take allowances. Yes,
yes. And they take allowances. And you see, your board may provide strategic direction. And the direction of him. The management are there to implement some of these strategic direction now. They are sure they are shepherding these strategic directions. But you do emanate from the board. And it is an admission of failure. You are advertising to the whole world, say, Charlie, I am incompetent. I can't manage these hotels. So I'm selling them. And they say, Nipana, I dare no stake will make us say, hey, so won't to mean and card in the source of the few Jatonwa. I say, who won't to mean the best thing is to just pack your baggage and luggage and get out.
And especially coming from Madame Elizabeth Ohene on Wangasaka say, I'll be making sure say she will submit herself to prosecution if corruption is established. I think that this is the time I see a bombarding pushing my on the air say corruption be womb because if due diligence was not done there, then I think say it would be fair to say to herself say on Wangasaka on free board ne so no more be fufuro bi nye den embra because if this same board kwa akotna so a my fear ne say the same board ne be hwe ahye that deliberately ama a friend is saying hotels no egu no maka say o see e ka kire mo say eni na ye say ye nton no ana.
Yes, it's true. This is at this point we can explore all the possibilities because some of these things are possible. And then I say the position became untenable. Abra or more exploit this particular options are because it was a clear admission of failure. Say I don't have the intellectual mind, the competence to be able to ensure say this investment become viable, and you cannot guarantee the economic viability of other investment portfolios as Senate only because being the board chair at this point, or sign our oversight responsibility. Not just over these hotels, but several other investment portfolios are Senate only. So what bizarre? Why Senate is not performing? And it is not only this bank, because there is this forecast. I actually say in the next 10 years, I'm not careful. Senate ain't mean to do my forecast because near more than the Sika Koshishem, a dear Sabi Oyam Faswa. So the question is, people who have been making these decisions, are they making good decisions? You see, these are some of the things. And you see, and then I make us say, unfortunately for us, we come from a part of a society where people will not let go even when they are dying on the job. In recent time, in the past 14 years, look at the Conservative Party has been in power now. How many resignations who at the top pinnacle of power, at the highest, at the pinnacle? How many of them? From Boris Johnson to May to why we corner way back because you see if it gets to a point now we engage in Niamabia because of respect you have for the people, your position become untenable. But it has a look at this public embarrassment. This I describe this thing as a shit show. It's a pure public embarrassment. It doesn't matter.
Now unim a friend is Ivan. Unim a day de bia me kase. De bia utati o mo wa ban semu aye ntimi nhwe so enti e beton de ama eye ankran private eye developer. But the question is Ghana for mutie Rainbow Radio 92.4 FM ewo eye United Kingdom and across the globe no muntie me. Aban adwuma ban na ya ton a yakwagu no say ejina ne naso for the past 10 years 20 years. Ghana for nkyere me baako.
Yes.
Me hunu aban adwuma bi a ya ton a e de ama ankran private owner bi a besi ne ejina ne naso. That particular a friend is saying no she no mbeso mu push so yan ton ya ton mo be fufuro no a Ghana no ebeye ye no it's a fallacy because from the onset Kwame Nkrumah adwuma bebre ya ton ya PNDC NDC MPP UP etonton ni nyina no ejina ne naso. So where from say yan ton ma ankran ye Brian the champion no na ye ton ma no ebejina na so no angasa ni hotel yi kra ejina na so na ni hotel no kra de bia meka say JB a friend is saying a papa we a friend is saying wo ye otanka obeche bilamte wo mu hwehwe mu ye because these are the people who are building the hotels onya ne baby ko but today's relevant issue I can say dear na kire say toma private sector ebejina nas because from the hotels the companies the factories are ya ton from Nkrumah Abresu they should come out and show us one ejina ne naso 50 years 40 years 30 years 20 years and they betimi agaso okampa abani ntimi hweso ne de ma private sector utimi hweso eye na saa hwa a wo hweso ye no still and Ghanaians are being employed and intino we dey ye ton a ebetimi ahweso ye let us see that particular one ebi ni ho
tawunim say ye ha na ye ton ma nipa na we don't look at the post sale viability. We see answer na sale no be koso no na ya compromise ya ho awie na Dr Ren me ton ade ama o adre ma je bribe na ma ton ama o enti se me bana se manya sika mfa nse o mere njana na so ade na beti bi da me. Look at Ghana Telecom. Now compare the operations to MTN. MTN is a South African company or a private entity. Now look at Vodafone. Here turning over the years, and they can't even compete with MTN here. Our Ghana has said because they are very careful. So her processes in name of on first of all, time is strategic investments behind what the Ghana adding process Vodafone 4G network also.
Only say one of the business kofo ne nyanse mu na wo form our ton ye Vodafone. At the time, na yenim say telecommunication, you know, was driving the world's a year. A friend is saying, na kofua kwa ton, unwa ton so what ton for when at that particular time the richest man in the world, no, na ye Carlos Slim, no, no, a dear man in yesikano, a ye telecommunication, ya kwa ton telecommunication kekesa. Hey.
Dr. Ren, with Bonnie way, Timo, you see, some of these arguments will make here. Rebecca say, oh, why are you focusing on government alone? You see, I can sit here if we are to go into the books. Now, I'm fa a bind dear Majina ho. Me say, never be free, Nakama Piabano, or Yamba show. Because you see, when people take power, a power is so convenient for them, say they are at liberty to do anything. You can go to the past and see number of state assets that outflow you in this same ridiculous fashion. And America said, unfortunately, none information is available. You know, we can easily speak to them, but a lot of them have happened in the past. And this government are guilty one way or the other because there are individuals are still who hold on to state asset, state lands, and then as a forum. Opa yam printing list the mrasisia omo talk about sas and as for kroma say every party be any paper bum but you see going forward no your argument in say we cannot go on this tangent this trajectory because over the years no enyam waye enti if there is anywhere between turning ama government venture about profitable we need to do, and these are the kind of argument and discussions that going forward we must activate as people. But not always all the time. Oh, Yanton, when we know very well, say, Toma, Yam 5 papa son of beton, Nipana, Yatoma man already at a bride. And to be a sika or the best ship grammar, the Jan and I so no, not a queer busy basa. A bank guarantee or nibi, no way out nibi, into Adia, I bet you post sale viability, no, ever cost no. There is no assurance. A bit and Cabra Champa, the money, so could kind of report of a catcher say. Bank guarantee be any baby. There is no guarantee says or bed operating way as when young fast war or betting ya chin I see paman.
We are then I would turn a buying property mobi no any bank guarantee. Now what you and you be normally Google call for banky. Say and go for banks, you know woman is kadu 20 yankoguno, but it will be the idea a easy yen tam famano with even without a so what bank guarantee. Now you see
with you. Even instances come with me raise bank guarantee, assurance, advisors no catch us say. Who the state of banks say banks in a bit more good at that. And the National Investment Bank, no more bank guarantee. Investment bank in Ochina a group or no Sikakro medical and this are no raising bank guarantee. You cannot peg your transaction against your friend saying a bank guarantee coming from a sinking bank. You understand? So I think some of these
when you know what national board fees, no move your massage allowance, and your board fees and go massage a year allowances. Now these people cannot use their brains to think for us to come out of poverty. Now who raise a point about Bank of Ghana, the governor. Sheka wama wama Ghana habo. Now what that's to. Would him say Bank of Ghana me no say as at 2022 per annum no $1 million per annum afi Bank of Ghana o me yabo kani nyina 2022 no afi no mu nyina no oyeden oje $1 million United States dollars. Now do the convention who there se sambara sidi mu
that board member 500,000
oh oje gold watch 24 karat gold watch omoji belt allowances, belt hook allowances, or driver, or police protection, or maid, or gardener. I mean.
And I win my mention of minister, I mean, what making this argument? Yeah, I'm telling you, we are sick. Winning baby. Abra from about chromas on my hair, so no. Dr. Ren, say Brony free UK, no, but black people. So at the time, they saw it as a risk. Because Obaha said that then the Ashanti Kingdom and Another Kingdom are very aggressive and belligerent, you know, or make me at any point because some were killed here. So say Brony no about Kromha. Ombe making sure that the person will be compensated handsomely. So a allowance per diem every single day you spend here, no, is seen as a positive way. You'll be paid. Yabama allowance, ama salary. Yabama security. Yabama garden boy. Yabama will be a car. Yabama allowance shoe in as a forum. And I'm saying, you know, yaji independence, you know, we couldn't shift from this colonial, you find an imperial kind of way doing things, you know. And I'm saying, I goodies, you know, then we allocated it to ourselves. And another day, you know, we are acting as lord of our own people. And then, judge back apart from the salary, Sika is spending on a single judge. It's mima a here for and crank to bear a 9 to make sure university. And I yet home, and we think we are running a country. You see,
and it's not as if say, and it's not as if say, yeah, we are seeing efficiency, we are seeing progress, we are seeing development, we are seeing said the country need move forward. Yeah, we are still retrogressing.
Exactly. Because now somebody okay. When I run a radio station, I would say, and you are running in higher losses. I know the boss bar allowance not the amount. There is no motivation to do well. You understand? So there is enough motivation to fail, and that is, you see, say you are careful. Ada kroma adebaji kinkreno. I'm telling you, say, it doesn't matter who you are and where you stand across the political divide.
Me no say matis yesi youth fo bi say o be demonstration na omo plan embo amane enka nkere obi omo say yesi o betia say nipa be 20,000. They will be on the street, they will not go anywhere. Upa munku omo nyina na yehwe. Yes,
it will be explosive because an American first, you know, like 1992, 1996, 2000, the amount for Nima also know, NDC also know, people didn't have access to information, but then people are having access to information, and they know what is going on. And then I was telling somebody, said, Ghanaians are politically active, socially viable, and then you don't need a political science lecturer to lecture you on politics for you to appreciate what politics is all about in this country. The fact is that what social media, listening to conversation as a foreigner, you become enlightened. So they understand. Enra, a 60-year-old plus woman called me from the US. Now or 60 years old, ordinary, you know, this person you might think say, or you're interested in politics. But the kind of conversation you know, I realize say yes, we've gotten to a level where people are taking vested interest in politics, and yet say now you're ignorant about the situation. Now you think say politics in 2000 is the same as politics today. You are joking and you are a joker. And America say we really need to take cognizance of the present situation. Now you act accordingly. And yes, I need to say because Kenya when it started, the president thought it was business as usual. And the amount for bufu, you know, I'm not sure about the social media no wrong in the end, it's led to an explosion.
Unim say on your kobi wo fa ebokro and the sanso say wabrabo. Ekufuado emra eye ruto mba no otini Kenya. Na ordinary share papa within 6 months. Na aye Kenya ekoso kama. O tu kwan ba be share Kufuado free aye Ghana call Kenya pe and na Ruto ko say Kenya aye a friend say economy. Or tu kwan best go and check. O check here from aye time na Ruto embesra Kufuado wo Ghana no. Na Kenya aye a friend say governance no. Na wo mo economy na kwanim everybody was even praising Ruto so we born home until say we ba Ghana we na Kufuado be share pe we call back pe and we start say introduce to taxes because Kufuado te Ghana no over 23 taxes a odigu Ghana for so no Ghana for nkasa enti no kona fa wo mo so kofa taxes go sa no onim say esno Ghana nkwada na esno Kenya Gen Zs odigu wo mo so no so wahu they are to
Yes, and I say I am bonus say obra papa. But you see, we don't want to wake up in a day near my we can go back. But you see, it's like say Nipano Moody and no. They still see Nipano Moody or Mosono as a Omuya Moa so Mundian South.
Unusa in favor be. A Kufa the Mice or Muya in favor be.
Oh yeah, but Miss Anna Mihuno. Sana Mihuno, but you see. say yansisa am free sales ban we who na cost to us say ya. Nah, no, I didn't need a state property. Also person will also critical stakeholders or involved, no, you will not get them involved. On country be a macas and a ton, now president it will be no or her sons to win because I was telling somebody said if President Akufo-Addo ever decency, I respected the people of Ghana when this whole thing started. You see, we shouldn't have gotten to this extent. And America said the industrial action, no, needless. Because the president ought to have torpedoed this particular or terminated this transaction from the beginning.
Ivan,
When
Ivan,
where I said,
Ivan.
some of the transactions, no, tainted with infractions and whole lot.
Ivan, the president is involved in this one.
Oh yes,
the president and now the Dankwa Akufo-Addo is involved in the sale of a year hotels. No, into no better than one stop. No, he is the one championing the sales behind the scenes. President Bekachro say, "I am not doing galamsey. I am fighting against galamsey. I am saying it on this radio. Say, what did 10% a year galamsey? Sika Akufo-Addo is one of the most wicked leaders Ghana has ever had. Is one or a friend is saying, and not just only mother serpent too, or a typical chameleon. No already or the Burkina for American United States, or a council of state. Can you imagine? Can you ever think say a whole Ghanaian president, commoner, secretary of state, just a commoner. When your president to say Joe Biden, what I say me can so much no. Na Burkina Faso a wonu omo connect say ECOWAS meeting ni AU meeting e kwo nyina no de okwo tia no akwa Can you just imagine a president like this? Can you imagine?
It's sad. And Ghana for we need to take our destiny into our own hands. And you see, anything sometime now, conversation starts here and other presidential candidates running meeting. As for Ghana for so we need to hasten slowly. We need to pause because you see where we are. We've seen enough and we've had it to our neck. We don't need to rush into making foolish, silly decisions, bringing on board people who have the same potential. I invested the future of this particular country in the same chaos, same unfortunate situation. Presently, you're finding your own any. But it looks as if people are not aware. I'm saying stage I can't say they have their bodies in the 21st century, but their minds are still stuck in the 12th and the 11th century because the year when I'm not sure they see. And these are analog leaders who are struggling in a digital world because the they don't see. Because sometimes the way a manner they act, what's in time you ask yourself, do they see the same thing? The economic atmosphere, the prevailing your friends saying ugly economic circumstances, the average Ghanaian are finding in the economic temperature, the rate of dollar equate, and all the Niyama airquay. Can't we have people who prevail upon the situation and say, let's dial down on the politics, let's do things right and fix the problems? But over Chrome here, nobody's talking about solution. Everything is politics. Every single thing, every damn thing in this country is about politics, how to capture political power. And that we are good at it. But the sense to rule after getting power, I'm sorry, we don't have it.
Unim say, they be a meka say, Oshe o my Ghana, can you imagine, say, a country, na ye wo governor for our Bank of Ghana. Na wa creating losses. Na you create losses ni nature no bosome no you no $85,000.
Yes,
$85,000. Se fako see this.
And he's the public servant. Parliamentarians will move from their office after say a demonstration. He referred to them as hooligans. To date, Obi unfriendly to answer anything. So you see, this is an emboldened public officer who thinks somebody has appointed him as a governor and he holds unwavering allegiance to the individual, not to institutions of state. Because Dr. Ren, you might be there doing right thing. If even a segment of your listeners who say, Charlie, your program, we say and protest, you don't sit on air and insult them. Because whether you like it or not, they're your listeners.
Yeah, you are the consumers.
Yes, meet them halfway. You understand? But for you to say, it doesn't make sense. And that will not solve the problem. And that is the attitude. So the guy is renewed in his effort to be more reckless because after all, say me na maboka 60 billion. Yeah, they are building offices. And you see, if you look at office now, you come and say, the actual cost, you see, you find to that because our security, we are jokers in this country. Yes, because of security implications. People are not asking about the building, your fence, the layout, and then the schematics. So people are asking about the cost involved.
Hey, Ebushia Augustua Wutie Rainbow Radio 92.4 FM. Mamenka was saying a Jumeku Kessie I marriage link. I say, Member Wonka say good news be Elho at the mount. Was a wash share a year partner, and now she will be our reno. Womodia, Ombetimia Bomodia, Abuao, Omo registered company, Omo handle everything related to marriage. And Tibomodiana from a hotline, so Ewo plus 233 201919462 and I say plus 23355441569. Wait me so follow mo our social media platform so at Marriage Link GH. Marriage Link there say everything marriage is our responsibility. And they say United Kingdom and I say UTM and now we Europe. Very easy. Say ubenya tea way na wanom bie alo going to green ahaban tea na alo going to green ahaban tea ni de me amenum bi na frewo mo telephone number see so 07796236426 and I say 0755252777 benefits ni bia ubenya from no antioxidant properties, anti-inflammatory effects, and blood sugar regulations, digestive health, immune system support, and relaxation and sleep aid. And inti bomodiana unsanka aluguin to green ahaban tinibi na enom na eja intimi bomodia emboa. Emfaso bebre medically no it has been proven. Ne brofum no SARS-up leave inti bomodia na epebi enom. Yeah, kind maminkin kind messages ya ebi aba. Florence Ama was say even when you say it, they will come after you. So everyone have hide in their shells. Also they are what they buy. No. Kojo or say to band or say brother Ivan, I don't believe for a second that you are unaware of the bricks. Also they are what they buy. No. Ora Uncle Mark Archery or say. Napo will disagree with you. Akufo-Addo is the best person and the president in Ghana's history, even better than Kufuor. Akpene Mensa say Nanado is a complete sellout. Onosudia what they buy, Sanso and a kofi wahase. Yenkona yenhwe Florence Ama or Bonisem Saha. Abose ayete sashekunso ewo hase yenua asiediwa boaten ewo mamenes ehwe ewo United States of America ema yenua Godfred Kwabnadi wu enso I say good afternoon to Ivan sanso na G Gan Frank onso edia wo de buy no say thanks na Bernard Reptile Amofa hey, Bernard, Reptile Ben, no, what also has a Kofi Thompson as well, or John Boachi and a Francis Asenso, Minia, Manasseh Ken Boachi, and so I was say, let's just say my main kind message, way every Arabaho, or say Dr. Ren is very sad that we live in a country where the CEOs, the governors are not performing, yet their salaries, hey, oh, bo, 85,000 a month, another year. Wow. Also, Susie, a year mante, or say, oh, Ivan, I feel like crying. I just got in at work. I'm about to start at 7 p.m. But it's really sad when you look at Ghana, the way and manner we manage our own companies, institutions. Ghana no one hwini enye entoma oh I see enton Ghana enfama the richest man Elon Musk mante no Letitia I see good afternoon handsome Ivan. It's Ivan single. Hey, a man for so dear mo buy. And Ivan you are single, but open so worrying for application if a family so. Because me pese memma wo ba bia saa na ebe ware Ivan epe ti application for family so. Oti ase o ye tuntum kama o san so wa. Oti ase wasa benin. Yansa ni nimde de ofa ne kwa. We every eye adwa. I say Dr Ren. Good evening and good evening to your listeners. I'm listening to you in Manchester. When are you coming to visit us? Rainbow Radio, you guys have to come and do something here in Manchester to ginger the Ghanaian community. We love you all and we listen to you. Yanko Francis, my producer, say so far we are doing over 4,670 all the 10 platforms. No, can you know that numbers are no. And it's not the say Brown because there's a lot of people that listen to us. We every year, Kwabna I say Dr Ren, Suswampa say on my gun and senke ye kufuado ne property it is an kobe managing yapa senanado pa ye mujidi no and they wama yensa esifom Ghana for moko akoto aba no a monhwe masitinem ono so de no we free Sule enso de a wono ebae no Sule si wotie yen ewo Camden na wapon adwuma a wote train mu a wokofie osi train ye adwuma Dr Remete say eja menu aba akọ no so ye freni Sule kan se Ghana de na oba train ye adwuma MPP for MPP for de omo ntro no de nya abotre nya omo nyina na twa ntro yeah some na woke we ya kan sama shama no ono de no say training nya adwuma o Ghana na munja de mo kire no ono so de ode bae no Francis ne din Francis Ameni or say Dr Ren me chiao Scotland. My uncle is Atakra many ampon. Okay just me what say no. Anyway, lastly yen kind message we free oba hima or say me din oba hima me free adweso